Okay, good afternoon. It is 1:01 p.m. Pacific time, and this is another one of Western Liberty Network's Saturday Zoom training sessions. It is Saturday, December the 18th, and what we're going to be talking about today is how to build your sphere of influence and become a local opinion leader in your community. I'd like to thank both Judith and Diane for coming on live. This session, like all of our sessions, are recorded, and you'll be able to find them on the training tab of our Western Liberty Network website. First of all, I'm going to point out that Western Liberty Network is a 501c3 nonprofit organization, and as such, we do not promote or oppose any political candidate, political party, ballot measure, or initiative or legislation. What we do is we train people how to do politics from a limited government perspective, and then once they receive the training, they're able and free to do whatever they want and apply that on anything that they care about. I'd like to welcome, I want to make sure I pronounce this correctly, Augustine, is that right?
Yes.
Thank you very much for joining us today.
Of course, thank you.
And so what I'll do before I begin the training is show you that website and introduce you to some of our resources. Okay, what you should see on the website now is Western Liberty Network's homepage. And you can go to westernlibertynetwork.org and it will transfer you to this Wix site and you'll be able to see these materials. Now, the first thing you see on the website is information about our upcoming February 5th training conference. This is our 12th annual Leadership and Activist Training Conference called Take the Offensive. And we have a lot of good information here. We have 20 breakout sessions on a variety of topics. We have some featured speakers. Featured speakers at this point include Dennis Linthicum, state senator from Southern Oregon, Joe Mackey, who's there for entertainment purposes. He's a comedian who is on the Gutfeld show on Fox. And we are still negotiating, but expect to secure South Dakota Governor Christina Noem.
Kristi Noem.
I'm sorry, Kristi Noem, yes.
Kristi Noem.
And these other folks here are all experts in various fields. And we have that conference. It's going to be on February 5th at the Hilton Hotel in downtown Vancouver, Washington. The whole day is $89. It includes access to all of the sessions. It includes a beautiful packet loaded with information, a badge, and a hot buffet lunch. There'll be 3 assemblies and 20 breakout sessions. You can download the promotional flyer by clicking right here. And when you do that, excuse me, you'll see this. This is the Take the Offensive, which is our theme every year, Take the Offensive Conference. And what it does is it talks about all of our training, how to fight critical race theory and promote choice in our schools, 5 different breakout sessions on that, how to be effective in the 22 elections. There are some organizations that we're working with, including the Freedom Believers, Slavic Vote, Blexit, who are trying to get some of their members to register to vote and become active. This will give some of them, and any activist, skills they need to be effective in 22. We are going to talk about the Slavic community, the Blexit community, which stands for Black, Latino, and building the base. Those organizations and their leaders will be among those who put on training sessions, such as how to conduct a voter registration drive, organize communities around issues, and various sessions about those particular communities, how to hold public officials accountable. This is all really good stuff. The whole conference is $89. We have rooms for $150. That includes all taxes and fees and the hotel is remodeled, is beautiful, and there's secured overnight parking as well. If you think this is a good conference, whether you're personally able to attend or not, I invite you to download this flyer and spread the word. We don't have a promotional budget. And so if you want to spread the word, you can get other people trained and they can have the skills to go on and be successful in 22. When you click from the web page onto the Register Now button, you will be sent to this page where you will get tickets. I go through Eventbrite, and when you click on the tickets, then it'll take you to this place where you can actually secure the tickets. So that is what I have to say about the conference. Now about Western Liberty Network generally, if you go to our training tab, you will find yourself here. We'll try this again. There we go. Okay, this is our training page, and here it talks about the different kinds of training we provide. It offers some companion training documents. Now, these documents are handed out during live trainings. We do live in-person trainings at the meetings of various organizations free of charge. And these are the documents that we hand out that go along with those trainings. And even though they're designed to be provided with live trainings, they stand on their own and can be used instructionally just by themselves. So click on any topic that interests you and you will be able to download that document. Farther down, you see the videos for our various Saturday training sessions. And as you can see, I do some of the trainings, but we have guest trainers that are experts in their field, and you can scroll down and look at the topics and anything you want. You can just click play and it'll take you to that recording of that session. Today's session that we're talking about right now will be posted probably tonight sometime, and it will appear above this one. So if you're forced to miss a session, you can always come back and get it at your convenience. And if you decide that WLN is an organization you want to support, you can click on our support page. And if you do, you will see this, and you can make either one-time contributions or monthly contributions that are automatically recurring. And of course, as always, donations to Western Liberty Network are fully tax deductible. So that is information about Western Liberty Network and our conference and our training facilities. Are there any questions before we go on to the training itself?
No.
Okay, there are no questions, so I will stop the share and go to the training itself. And I do have a document. I don't know if anyone has had a chance to download that, but I will make it available in the chat if you want to sort of follow along. Okay. Stop. Okay, it's in the chat now. You can download it and follow along as you like. And this is how to become an opinion leader. Now, some folks come to me and say, what is an opinion leader? And so what I did is I provided some examples. Opinion leaders are simply people whose opinions are considered by others when trying to make up their minds about something. One famous opinion leader at the national level was Walter Cronkite. I don't know how many people remember Walter Cronkite. He used to be anchor.
Oh, yeah.
Yep, CBS Evening News. He would always end his broadcast with, "And that's the way it is, August 24th." You know, and he was loved by most Americans, and he was trusted. He was once called the most trusted man in America. And famously, when the Vietnam War was not going well, he did what he never does. He made an editorial comment about the Vietnam War and how Americans should pull out. And famously, President Johnson at the time said, "Well, if I've lost Walter Cronkite, I've lost America." And that, in fact, was the case. He is a great example of a national opinion leader. He wasn't an elected office holder. He didn't hold any, strict position of authority, but he was an opinion leader. And local opinion leaders are folks that do the same thing, but at a very small scale or at a local scale. If you have people that call you up and say, "Gosh, who should I vote for? There's a weird race for state judge. I don't know who these people are. Who shall I vote for?" If they're coming to you for advice, you are already an opinion leader, even if it's one or two people. They may be activists, respected neighbors, local office holders, members of the clergy, business leaders, and so on. And so, a lot of the people who are activists and get involved in Western Liberty Network, they may not already know it, but they're already, to some degree, local opinion leaders. And so the point of this training is to help them understand that they're local opinion leaders, to say, "Hey, yeah, that's me," or "that could be me," and then show them how to expand their sphere of influence. Local opinion leaders typically share values. They share the values of the people who listen to them. Not always, there might be disagreements. Typically, if you're a local opinion leader and someone disagrees with you, they likely still respect your view, even if they don't specifically agree with it. Local opinion leaders are seen as credible and competent within their spheres of knowledge, and they can articulate and project information, ideas, and opinions within their personal online networks. Now, there are a few things that are not in the sheet that I'm going to cover right now. And these are all characteristics of successful local opinion leaders. One of them is selectivity. Successful local opinion leaders do not fight every battle out there. They are selective in what they decide to engage on. If somebody is shouting all the time on every issue, they tend to alienate people, or if nothing else, people tend to tune them out. A lot of times you'll be in a group of people and there might be one person who doesn't talk very much. And when they do talk, everybody listens to them because they don't talk very often and they measure their words. Now, I'm not suggesting that you should communicate rarely, but I am suggesting that people should be selective in what they discuss. You know, if you're concerned about school choice, don't enter into every discussion about, you know, metal, brass, fastener imports, or, you know, things that are ancillary and not really that important. Decide for yourself what issues are really important to you. What, if you could pick like 5 things that you would engage your neighbors on and want them to follow you on some opinion that you have, what would they be? And focus on those issues and resist the temptation to get involved in everything. Activists are notoriously passionate people and they want to be involved in everything. So be selective, and then when you do speak, people will be more inclined to pay attention to you. Also, think about stature. You want to be somebody who is respected. You want to have some level of stature. One way to destroy that is to get onto Facebook and get into a flame war. You know, get into some personal fight with somebody who disagrees with you. You know, if you're a supporter of Donald Trump and someone hates Donald Trump, and you get on Facebook and you fight back and forth and you begin insulting each other, and it just becomes petty. This is what I'm talking about. When you get involved in those kind of discussions, you are lowering your stature. So if you want to become a local opinion leader, always take the high road. You know, if you are religious, think about Jesus Christ, and if you're a Christian, and how he would conduct himself in the face of people who are acting in a petty way, and try to not fall into that trap. When people are passionate and they get angry and their emotions get triggered, it's really easy sometimes to get sucked into small debates, you know, that reduce the stature of everyone who is involved. So be selective in those issues you decide to enter into. And then conduct yourself in a way that increases and protects your stature so that you remain somebody who people respect and who people look up to and hold a higher standard. Another one is consistency. Be consistent in the positions you hold. Sometimes you'll find that a liberal will say that something that Joe Biden does is perfectly okay and defend them to the hilt. But when a conservative Republican does the same thing, they'll say, oh, that's awful. You know, there are a myriad of examples, like whether or not the filibuster rule should apply, whether or not the Supreme Court should be stacked. You know, it's one side, the side that feels weaker always says, yes, we need to do this. The ends justify the means. And the other side says, no. What you have to do is you be consistent. If, for example, you believe that the Supreme Court should not be stacked to favor liberals because conservatives in charge, you're morally obliged to hold that same position when circumstances arise where the liberals are in control of the state, of the Supreme Court. You know, should then conservatives, if they have the power, stack the court to accomplish their goals? If we do that, then we are hypocritical. We hold a different standard when we're in power or when we're not in power or any of those things. And I use these as examples. Western Liberty Network is not Republican or Democrat or anything else. In fact, I'm a registered libertarian, but we're talking about our principles and legal and constitutional ideas. If you want to be an opinion leader, you've got to be selective about the battles you enter. You have to raise and maintain your stature and you know, act in a classy way, and you have to be consistent. Also, credibility. Take a look at your past, and even if you've done something wrong, if you have been arrested before, or if you had a bad childhood, or whatever it might be, even if you did some prison time, look at your life and make sure that you are behaving. Even I'm sure that's not the case with anyone here who's on the recording, but just behave in a way that is credible to the people you want to follow you as a local opinion leader. And with regard to credibility, another dimension of that is when you are arguing for or against something, when you are expressing an opinion, make sure that the facts back you up. Back up what you say with some credible source of information. So be personally credible as much as you can. But when you are arguing a point or trying to express an idea, make sure that you do it in a way that is very credible and that you have information that backs you on what it is you're trying to say. Another point is to have a very clear worldview. I don't think this is a problem with any of us, because I get the idea from just looking and listening to people and knowing some of you that you have a very clear idea of what your worldview is. But it's important to have a very clear worldview, because if you have a clear worldview, you are going to be more consistent with respect to the issues that you select. And if you are seen as credible and you have clarity with regard to your worldview, it will show through your consistency. So you see how a lot of these attributes kind of play off each other and work in a synergistic way to build yourself as a local opinion leader. And then finally, reach. And I'm going to go back to the document here and talk a little bit about reach, because if you are a local opinion leader, you're not optimizing yourself if you do not expand your reach, how many people that you're reaching. And so we'll talk about that a little bit. In that sense, let's see here, how do I want to go this next? Okay. There are a couple of ways you can do this. One, become a public official. If you are a public official, you're going to get out of that echo chamber and you're going to deal with people who agree with you and people who don't agree with you. And you don't have to be a high public official. You can run for office, but you can run for a local office like water board, fire board, park and rec, cemetery control board. It doesn't matter. If you have some position of public responsibility and you get yourself elected to something, no matter how large or small, you are all excuse me, allergies are killing me right now. But anyway, you are you're expanding your reach and you are in an authoritative position that adds to your credibility. Now, if you don't want to be an elected official, you can be appointed. There are a lot of appointed positions like budget committee positions, planning commission positions. If you go to your local city hall or you go to your county elections office, there are typically dozens and dozens of volunteer positions like this that are public offices that nobody applies for. A lot of them are vacant. And so if you want to increase your reach as a local opinion leader, you can occupy one of those positions, take a position of responsibility. I tell this to people who are trying to get involved but aren't very involved right now, like some in the Slavic community or the Blexit community. I'm saying, look, there are all these vacant positions. Get your people into those positions and start, building credibility and building around your community and increasing your reach. Another thing too, just by being a political activist, you're going to meet a lot of people and you'll be able to interact with a lot of people. That will increase your reach. Also, volunteering in your community. Are you a soccer coach? Are you a member of a service club like the Lions, Eagles, Kiwanis, American Legion, any of these service clubs? If you're not, consider joining one of them. A lot of good people. They're usually a lot of fun, especially the Elks. I was an Elk for a long time. And, there will be things that you can do. A lot of them have a charitable purpose. When I was a member of the Hillsborough Optimist, we provided furniture for battered women's shelters. And you get to meet a lot of interesting people that are working in the community. But if you become a member of any of these service clubs, you're going to make friends, meet new people, and this will enable you to sort of expand your sphere of influence. expand your circle of reach. And all of this is to make sure you get out of the echo chamber. A lot of times, some of us, particularly passionate activists, end up in an echo chamber. We tend to gravitate around people like ourselves, or people who think like ourselves, or have ideas similar to ourselves. And so we talk to each other and we try to do things, but we're basically in an echo chamber. And that's okay. It's important for people who agree to sort of consolidate their views and come together and act with unity towards something they commonly believe in. But if you want to increase your sphere of influence, you really have to get out of the echo chamber and begin interacting out of your comfort zone with people that you don't normally deal with, people who may even disagree with you. And when you're doing that, make sure you're being selective in what you engage in, you're maintaining your stature, you're consistent, you're credible, you have a clear worldview, and you're always reaching out to people. If they don't agree with you, that's okay. You might get them next time on the next issue that comes up, whatever it is, but the point is to get out of the echo chamber. Find ways to project your message. We're going to talk about that just a little bit later. And remember, it doesn't always have to be you. If you are building a sphere of influence, you do not always have to be the point person. This is really important. If there is somebody, like for example, there's a woman who has been fighting critical race theory. She ran for the Beaverton School Board. She was not successful, but she built a sphere of influence while running. Her name is Jeanette Shada, and she is somebody who came in and is a WLN trainee. And if I was dealing with that issue, if I decided to engage on that issue, I wouldn't necessarily try to be the point person and be the spokesperson on that. I might use a lot of my effort to try and help her accomplish her objectives. If you do that and you're successful, it will become known, even if you're not the point person, it will become known that you are someone who helped to amplify that voice and get that message known. And even if you're not the point person, you will be expanding your reach as a local opinion leader. Now, some ways, let's say you've done this. You have gone to the community, you've expanded your sphere of influence, you met a lot of new people, you've gotten involved in service clubs, maybe you volunteered to be on a local planning commission. You do all of these things and you've expanded your sphere of influence. At this point, you've built some capital. How do you spend it? This is where the benefit comes. It's when you're able to change things. One way you're able to spend that is when people contact you. If you are doing these things and expanding your sphere of influence, people will come to you. They will call you and say, what do you think about this? What do you think about that? Who do you like for this position? Who do you like for that position? That is you cashing in on all of that work. You are now a local opinion leader and people are asking you for your views. But another thing you can do is endorse political campaigns. You can say, I'm working with a lot of people, I'm involved with several groups, and I would like to offer my personal endorsement to this candidate. You can offer that endorsement to the candidate directly, to the candidate's organizations. You can make it known through a letter to the editor. You can make it known by way of a press release. And, you wouldn't want to always necessarily say, I, Richard Burke, endorse John Smith for state legislature. It's like, well, who cares? You're one person, right? But it might be a lot more palatable if you were to say something like, as a community activist, as a member of the planning commission, as whatever it is that you're doing. I've seen a lot of candidates offer themselves to the electorate. And after doing all of this, I decide I really like John Smith. And for that reason, I want to encourage everybody to vote for John Smith. That's going to go a lot farther. And that is going to go a lot farther, and people are going to listen to that, and you will have credibility. One thing you can do is arrange lunchtime speakers for local service clubs. I really encourage people to get involved in some kind of local service club. The Lions, the Eagles, the Elks, the American Legion, whatever it is. And if you do get involved in those organizations, or even one of those organizations, try to put yourself in a position where you can arrange who their lifetime or who their lunchtime speakers are, who speaks at their meetings. Because if you can determine, if you become chair of a program committee of one of these clubs, organizations, and you're in a position where you can arrange for speakers, then you can arrange speakers who reflect your worldview. And then when those people come and speak, they will be projecting your worldview to the members of that organization. And one reason I love these organizations so much is because they're made up of people who are active in their community. So what happens in the meetings, if something happens in the meeting that inspires them or makes them think or turns them on, they're going to go into their world and they're going to talk about what they saw at that meeting. And so if you get yourself into a position where you can determine, be on a program committee who determines who the speakers are, even if you're not doing it yourself, if you're on a committee to do it and influence it, it's a good way to go. And once somebody has spoken, the members of the club will go into their world and talk about what they saw with their friends and their families. And you can also bounce off of that. You can then write another letter to the editor and say, I was at my local Eagles Club meeting and we had a speaker, John Smith was the speaker. And, he said something that I would like everyone to know about, and share the contents of the meeting so that everybody can know what they are. This is a great way to, as a local opinion leader, to project your message into the community where it comes into different, cracks. All of the things that I'm talking about here are not going to change the world by themselves. They're not even going to change the community by themselves, but it's a constant drip, 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 a consistent inculcation of you building a sphere of influence and then you projecting your worldview into that sphere of influence that will accumulate like snow accumulates on a day when it's 20 degrees. No single snowflake is going to, cause cars to slip and slide on the road. But as the snowflakes continue to fall, the roads begin to get slippery. This is what it's like as a local opinion leader. Every little thing you do is like a snowflake, but everything you do accumulates onto itself as long as you maintain your stature and your credibility. If you don't maintain your stature, a lot of those snowflakes can melt very quickly. The same thing if you're seen as inconsistent and hypocritical. The same thing if you're seen as not credible or don't have a clear worldview. All of those things. And for Lori, who came into the meeting a little bit later, I encourage you to look at the recording and we go over these things in pretty good detail. The selectivity, the stature, consistency, credibility, clear worldview. And then also, when you're projecting a message, project your message publicly. I would do this on not only through letters to the editor and social media, but I would also do it on talk radio. I love Lars Larson's Freedom Friday, for example. You can call up and you get 30 seconds to say whatever you want to say. And if something happens that is important to you, is one of the issues that you've decided to engage upon, go on the radio and say, I'm supporting John Smith for the legislature, or I like this bill, I don't like this bill. Here's the reason why. I encourage everyone to contact this person or get involved. Whatever it is, you've got 30 seconds to say something. 30 seconds on KXL on Friday, is worth over $1,000 if you had to buy the ad yourself during that particular time slot. This is something that you can do for free. A lot of things you can do for free. A lot of smaller towns have radio stations with programs that you can do the same thing. KSLM has several programs that you can call into and talk about various things. That's Salem radio station, KJDY in John Day, Oregon. If you go to the Oregon Secretary of State's website, you can download a document called the Oregon Blue Book. And the Oregon Blue Book in the back has a section where they have every radio station, television station, and newspaper in the state of Oregon. And you can contact these people and find out, when can I call in? When are your talk shows? A lot of them have websites that'll be listed that you can look at. And you can do your own media plan. You can write down what station is, what the show is, what time it is, what the call-in number is, all of these things. The newspapers, same thing. If you go to the websites of these various newspapers, they all have letter to the editor. Some of them have things where you can write 300-word entries. and write down what the newspaper is, what the email address is to submit a letter to the editor, or a soapbox, as some people call them. All of these things. Does Lars have a podcast? I don't know, but I bet if you go to larslarson.com, I bet you'll find that there is one, and you'll be able to how to get to that. And that said, I'm not meaning to advertise on behalf of Lars or KXL, although I love Lars, and KXL has been good to us. But I can't endorse radio stations, but I think they probably do. Sometimes TV stations even have times when citizens can go on the air and say something. It's typically Sunday night at 2 a.m. when they air those things, but people are up on Sundays at 2 o'clock and they do see them. Another outlet is if you can get yourself onto a cable community public access show. People watch those. Not a large number of people, but the people who watch them tend to be politically active. And if you can swing them on a point, you're going to swing the people they know, because they're going to talk to the folks they know, and if you say something that they find interesting, they're going to share that. And people do watch it. I remember once when I was serving on the Tualatin Valley Water District Board of Commissioners, public access cable covers all of our meetings. I can't think of anything that'd be more boring than a water board meeting, in most cases. There were issues that did attract a lot of attention, like when we debated fluoride and some of those other things, but most of the time it's really boring. But then one time I was in downtown Beaverton. There was a 4th of July parade, and I was just standing there watching the parade go by, and the local McDonald's float came by, and Ronald McDonald, sitting up there, recognized me, and he goes, "Hey, you're that commissioner guy I saw on TV." Well, I didn't ever expect that Ronald McDonald would address me in that particular way, but what it told me is that people do watch these things, and it's a very good way to project your message. So once you have built your sphere of people that who find you influential, once you've built your sphere of influence, endorse political campaigns, arrange for lunchtime speakers for local service clubs, and project your message publicly, so that what it is. You can do this also on social media. And then once you've done all of that, just begin the cycle again. It's always a cycle of building your sphere of influence, building your credibility, and then spending the capital that you've amassed while doing so by projecting your views on issues and promoting your worldview. And then continue to build and project, build and project, build and project. And over time, you will find that you will become an influential person within your sphere. And the bigger your sphere, the more influential you are. And these are the key points and the basics about how to become a local opinion leader in your community. Are there any questions?
I don't think so.
No. Diane, Donna?
Yes, I have a few questions. There's a whole lot going on here on the Long Beach Peninsula, and I've only lived here a year. But some of us are trying to coordinate how should I say, a surveillance of the school board.
Mm-hmm.
Well, the Governor Inslee signed a mandate that CRT has to be taught in school.
Mm-hmm.
And that was signed in May. And so that's part of the emphasis. But also we've learned that they've been teaching SEL for a long time. That's just
SEL.
maybe a social emotional learning. It's basically brainwashing kids to become activists. So anyway, it kind of dovetails with CRT training and diversity, equity, and inclusion. Anyway, so we're at the very, very beginning stages of trying to figure out how do we organize, or what do we do to start? I mean, we're just trying to gather information and so forth at this point. We don't want to go the FOIA route to announce ourselves.
Right.
We were thinking that we would just attend the school board meetings, which are on Zoom, so it's very convenient. And just pose some questions and start from there. And then when we figure out what the school board's been doing, maybe then we'll come
Mhm.
out to the public and maybe write a letter to the editor or something.
Well, there are a lot of things that you could do that would be very effective. For example, even if the governor has mandated that these things be taught in the government schools, doesn't mean it's the only thing that could be taught in government schools. And there's probably no requirement as to how many hours are spent teaching that in government schools. You could push the school boards to minimize the time to teach other paradigms in parallel, or you could promote people taking their kids out of the government schools completely and going to private schools or charter schools, or forming your own charter schools, or beginning to do homeschools. If you start taking money, if the schools, government schools take money for every student they get, if you start taking kids out of the schools and money starts leaving the schools, they become very sensitive very quickly. Also, things you can do is find people who are willing to run for school board, get them elected. See if you can get a few superintendents fired like they did in Newburgh. The other side will fight.
Oh,
They
did.
Yeah, the Newburgh School Board, conservatives took control of that, and they fired their superintendent, and they are getting rid of a lot of these things that you're talking about, replacing them with 3 Rs. Lori says, what about the 3 Rs? People like the Newburgh School Board are now putting the 3 Rs back in the schools and in prominent positions in the schools. Be the government. Don't wait for somebody else to do something. So you're always saying, please, please don't do this, or please do that. Get yourselves in power. Take the offensive. This is our government too. And we're supposed to be a self-governing society. Taking a passive role won't work. So Diane, I would recommend that you find people who are willing to run for the school board. Find people who are willing to launch ballot measures that'll overturn some of these things that the governor is doing. Find people who are willing to go to school board members and make a lot of noise. And, until these other things are accomplished, force them to minimize things like CRT in the school. So that they may be meeting the letter of the law, but they're not effectively doing it. I mean, there are a lot of different approaches that you can use. And I see something on the chat. Now the ACLU is getting involved in the Newburgh school case. Yeah, they are. And they're going to fight. And a lot of these people are going to fight. One of the things that they did in the Newburgh school board is remove all political symbols from the classroom, except for the United States flag and the Oregon state flag. And so this prevents people from, on the left, from doing BLM flags and rainbow flags. It also prevents people from, doing political messaging on the right. And this doesn't apply to the students, but it applies to the schools, which are not supposed to take a political position. They're just supposed to educate our kids. And that's why the left is going nuts right now, is because they want the schools to be indoctrination centers. And if the Newburgh model becomes, spread throughout the state and maybe the country, then they're in a lot of trouble, and they know it. So they're going to fight tooth and nail to take these people out. ACLU is pushing Marxism, CRT, transgendering et al. Comes from Diane Gruber. Yeah, well, be the government you want and get yourself elected, get yourself appointed, find people who are willing to ask questions and make noise, lawfully, of course, and start becoming a local opinion leader, and ask your friends to start becoming local opinion leaders. The Young Pioneer Club in the USSR started in the schools. That's true. Absolutely. So are there any other questions? Yeah, I knew a little bit about that. My wife was born in the Soviet Union, was raised in Ukraine when it was part of the Soviet Union, and she knows all about the Young Pioneer Club. They tried to sort of pass it off. They tried to sort of pass it off as the Soviet version of the Boy Scouts, but it had a completely different mission. Are there any other questions? Okay, I don't see any. So we're going to close this training session. I want to thank everybody for participating. 40 minutes, that's not too bad. I hope you found some value in this. And I would like to encourage you, and this is a favor to me, is to download the flyer for our conference. Take a look at it, decide if it's something you would like to do. But the favor is that you spread the word. If you are on social media or you have access to any email lists, take a look at the flyer and blast out the flyer to whoever you know. We're going to keep the cost down as much as we can. If I can get enough sponsorships, we'll lower the cost. What we have now is enough to meet the hotel contract. I really hate charging money for this, and I don't charge money for live on-site training or any of our online training, but we do have to meet our hotel commitment, so I've got to charge something for this. But the point is not to make money on this event. The point is to get the information out to as many people as possible. So please let people know about this conference. We want to get as many people trained as possible. This is going to be a very good conference. It's worthwhile, and will give people the information and the inspiration to be effective in 2022. I got a question from Diane. Oh, how will you get Noam? I've got some connections, and she's not confirmed yet. We're working very hard to get her. She's coming to the Northwest for a couple of things that are unrelated to Western Liberty Network. So we're trying to see if we can schedule them concurrently so she can hit multiple birds with one stone, so to speak. So
Yeah, Washington County GOP had her in September 2020 at
That's
the
right.
Reagan dinner.
That's right. And Dan Mason, who organized that dinner, he's
Right.
one of the ones that's helping me try to bring her back.
Oh, okay. Okay.
And so I'm not sure
She's
that
fabulous.
she is fabulous. She doesn't commit until a few weeks before an event because she doesn't know. She's a sitting governor in South Dakota and it's winter, and she doesn't know if she'll have to deal with a blizzard emergency or some other kind of emergency. So they don't commit until very late. So, but
Okay.
we are engaged in negotiations. Leslie Higgins is her scheduler, and we've been in touch back and forth. So we are working very hard to get this done. And but even if she doesn't come, it's a fantastic agenda, a fantastic conference.
Yes, it is.
And also to share the screen again, one more thing that's available. If you go to the home page, and I'll try to do that here. I mentioned if you click here, you can see our flyer. But if you click here, you'll see our preliminary agenda. And this is our agenda. And it gives you a little more information about what the full names of each track of instruction are. Because on the conference, I have to sort of abbreviate that. This gives you the full names of each track. And it tells you what's going to happen during the ceremonies and gives you more complete titles of what the breakout sessions are and so forth. So from the homepage of the WLN website, you can download this agenda. A couple of things are to be determined. For example, we don't know if Christy Noam will be here yet. And if not, we'll find another speaker to fill in. So we don't have everything filled in quite yet. We do have State Senator Dennis Linthicum, comedian Joe Mackey of Gutfeld. But the trainers are fantastic. If you go to the, just these pictures, we've got state senator, former state representative, former chair of the Republican Party, a former candidate for governor and state treasurer. There's Dimitri, who's president of the Slavic Vote PAC. And here's Yanita Brannigan, who's head of Blexit, Candace Owens's organization in Oregon, Janice Dysinger, and there are a lot more. Anyway, if you are willing, I encourage you to spread the word about this and get our people trained so that in 2022, people who support more conservative points of view will be more successful. I think we've got some really good opportunities here to promote limited government values in 22. I'm not going to endorse any candidate or political party, but I will tell you that what the left is doing hasn't been working. A lot of people who are non-affiliated voters recognize that. And so I think there is an opportunity for conservatives to swing a lot of them over. And, I think we could see a severe reduction of the left's influence over our state and our country in the next couple of years.
Yes.
So let's
Yeah.
get everybody active and
Even the Democrat voters on the Long Beach Peninsula are just, shaking their head.
Yep, and it's not just Democrats. I mean, there's some liberal Republicans out there. There are a few independents, and of course, you've got the Green Party out there, and a lot of these kind of things. And
Yeah.
again, it's not about necessarily party. It's about governing philosophy, and that's what WLN is more about. Is about principles than party.
Right.
Sometimes they'll coincide. Sometimes they won't. That's up to
Well, so many people, they voted against Trump, not for Biden, but they were not prepared for how much destruction he has caused in just 11 months. So they're starting to rethink things.
Yep, a lot of people have that view.
They really are starting to rethink.
But as Western Liberty Network, I have to be very careful not to say something that implies endorsement or promotion of a specific
Sure.
candidate.
Sure.
But when people talk about these things, they generally know what they mean. So is there anything else? Are there any other questions? Okay, we'll call it a session then. God bless you all. Merry Christmas to you all.
Thank you. Merry Christmas.
Let's see, 7 days from now would be the 25th. So we're not going to do a training next Saturday because that's Christmas Day. I think it's important that we spend the day with our families and honor our Lord. Of course, I know that the Slavic community, of which my wife is a member, they celebrate their Christmas in the end of the first week of January. And
Russian
so
Christmas.
we'll get, that's right. And so we will be also celebrating Christmas on that day. But
Wow.
but
You're really well fed.
so yeah, we're going to be really well fed. We'll have to lose some weight down the pike. But I hope that God blesses all of you and your families, and that you have a wonderful time. And I look forward to seeing you soon. Watch your email and be sure to sign up for the conference. So take care and God bless.
Very much.
Thank you, Richard.
Get out the vote.
Merry Christmas.
And thanks for coming, you newbies.
Merry Christmas. Happy New Year.
You bet.
Yeah.
Ho, ho, ho.